Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to our fourth episode for the Hult Prize at UCL's podcast. This year's edition of the competition challenges you to innovate in the world of fashion in order to make it more sustainable. This series of podcasts is meant to inspire and engage you all along the on-campus program by inviting startup founders, strong industry stakeholders, and many more. Today, we are extremely excited and grateful to have Kassandra Lauren Gordon, a luxury jewellery maker. If you don't mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself.
Wow, what do you want to know? So I'll give you a very quick bit of my life. So I am a fine jewelry designer. I have kind of a practice of using narratives relating to family, heritage, and legacy and put that into my work. Two bits of my business, if you will, is ready to wear, where it's like my own designs, and then the other half I make for other people. So I'm a bit of a jewelry genie. Whatever they want, I will provide. How I got into the business is very unconventional. I just grind and knocked on doors and hope for the best, and which you don't usually do as a jeweler from the outside. And here I am now, 10 years in the game, still trying to navigate this fine jewelry world.
Yeah, I mean, your career seems really incredible. I remember on your keynote series, you were saying how this wasn't what you intended to do initially when you studied and things like that. So, I guess you were also talking about how your culture was really important. So, I guess if you could tell the audience a little bit why you felt it was important to incorporate your Jamaican roots into your business model.
It's because who I am. It's a bit weird because when I first started in the jewelry business, I was told not to shove it or embrace it. I was told if I used black models or they saw my face in my brand, white people wouldn't buy from me. And I believed them because I didn't know anything. I didn't have no social capital. I just believed what teachers and people said in the jewelry industry, where I should have just believed in myself.
Yeah.
And the turning point for me in my business is when I was embracing myself. I know the people always say, believe in yourself, do what you want, do what you love. All those kind of things we always hear at the time. When I started embracing myself, that's when things turned, and things was turning out very successful for me. And I can't help that my mum and dad are Jamaican, and people like Jamaican culture, and embrace it all over the world. So that's how it is. And it doesn't have to be in your face like the Jamaican flag, Bob Marley. There's just traditions and the way how people look at life, what people can appreciate and has universal value.
I like how on your website and things like that, like it's very subtle, but it's always kind of woven in throughout your brand. And I think it's done in a really subtle, but really kind of a really nice way. And it kind of makes there more space for people of color, I think, as well, to be like, I can make a really good name for myself and I can create such a great business, especially when you haven't started in with a leg up or anything like that. So I think following on from that, I think, what do you feel has been the biggest obstacle in the industry, not only as someone who hasn't emerged from business school, but also as a creative woman of color in a very competitive industry?
Yeah. So there's two things when I thought about this question. In the industry, it's just like with most businesses, is money and connections. So that's one. But I see that question in two ways. So in the industry, it's like the external things, like, okay, I don't come from the jewelry business. Okay, I don't have a rich husband. I don't have that generational wealth. But that's the cards that you dealt with, right? So okay, that's the card that you dealt with. How do you try to overcome that? That's one half of the question. And then when I think about that question, I'm thinking the other barrier is myself, because I can't let these external things. I can only control what I can control. And if I can look at the things what I'm supposed to be good at design, good at storytelling, try to market the best I can. Me, myself is the barrier, and I don't want external forces to dictate where I can go and the limit I can go with this business.
That's amazing. And I feel like your resilience is really important. And I think anyway, just being an entrepreneur, being resilient is important. But I think especially as women, it's important as well, because we're always going to have less of a stance, I guess, in the industry. But I think in a more general sense, what do you feel is the biggest hurdle anyway as an entrepreneur?
I would say, I think it's self-belief. I'm just talking for myself because being in an industry, it was really like when I went to jewelry school, it was a very horrible experience, one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life.
Mm.
Um, yeah, because I'm very focused and I really always wanted to be well, I wanted I took jewelry design really seriously. When I went to do some short courses, I was too serious, and compared to my classmates who were just like doing this as like, oh, it's just a bit of a hobby, and I'm like, no, 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 I really want to be a jewelry designer, and people weren't really doing that, so that was
Mhm.
just weird. But back to your question was, sorry, I was going to I was going to say a very important point. What was your question again?
I was asking about like the biggest hurdle as an entrepreneur.
Great, great. Sorry. So the point is about I was going to go to self belief. So because I was in this very toxic jewelry school environment, that really hampered on my self belief. I was like, I know I've got good ideas, I've got good designs. I might not be the best person, have the bench skills at
Mhm.
that time, but I was always improving, always learning. So instead of me looking at the teachers and look what other people are saying about what jewelry should be, I should have just trust my instinct and trust myself, and I would have gone a lot further than
Mhm.
listening to the industry. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut and look at your superpowers and what you're good at, and just pick and take information as you go. So like self belief, if you don't believe in your ideas and willing to problem solve, and look like a lot of the answers are within you or with Google. Not paying 10 million people consultants like, oh, to talk about strategy when you can just do it on Google yourself. So I wish when I first started as a woman, as an entrepreneur, is to block out the noise of negativity and toxic stuff and people, other people's isms and other people's, egos, and just be true to myself, and I feel that's what I'm very strong on. I protect that to the max with my ideas, and I protect my
Mhm.
how I feel and my judgments, because I would never want to be in that position again, where teachers or institutions put a limit on you about how far you can go in your business.
I feel like the external validation of other people that we often look up to can always hinder us because we like rely on self-belief from others. But it sounds like a skill that you've developed. Did you have any way that you developed that skill, or did it just kind of happen one day with maturity?
I think I had no choice, to be honest. I
Mm.
think it was very hard. I think I thank my parents for my resilience, because as a person of color living in Coventry in the late 90s and early 2000s, it wasn't really multicultural for black people.
Mhm.
So even like going to school was like people used to try to jump me. Like people tried to, like, just to get to school. I could even go to the supermarket or go to the park with my brother without people. It was very unsafe. So I just want to go to school without trying to get beat up.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Or I'm trying to go to the supermarket just to get cat food without people being horrible to me and my brother. So I always believe, like, why not use your voice? Why not? Why can't I just be like everyone else? Why can't I have the same opportunities? So I don't think like I should be spoon fed or give something because I'm, of a certain color. But if me and you are on the same page and there's opportunities there, why can't we have access to the same opportunities? I think that's my resilience. And even knocking down doors in Hatton Garden, like, could you help me with this? Can you help me? I'm always inquisitive, I'm always curiosity. So that's how it built up, built up, built up, built up, built up. And then I
Yeah.
just like, you know what? I can do this. So that's how it kind of come. But yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think self-belief is a key thing, but also when you're forced to be your own belief system and stand up for yourself and be the voice that you need is really difficult, but it's really important. And I think especially for the entrepreneurs that we have on our program, a lot of them are from a minority background. So I think it's important to hear from minority people who are in the industry that it's possible to have your own voice and it's possible to make your own moves.
And it's about
Um,
having clarity, sorry, so self belief and clarity. Because if you're not sure, like, I'm not, if you're not sure about where you're going or your direction, someone you could ask someone, or you go to someone like as a mentor, oh, can you help me with this? And they tell you something that doesn't align. So you need to be super sure, of your clarity of your goals, where you want to take your brand, what you want to do, what you won't do. And then if someone says something a bit off key, you don't get swayed by it, and you just carry on with your conviction. So that's very important. So sorry, like there's two things: self-belief and clarity. And I've wasted money talking to consultants for £800 an hour, telling me something I already know, and I'm like, that person had the self-belief to charge me £850
Yeah.
for just asking me, what do you think about your brand? And I was like, you paid, that's £850. I could have went on holiday with that. So for the person to have that conviction to scam, not scam, but in my head, scam me, £850 to tell me something, to ask me a question and say it's strategy. How can I use my talent to make more money than them? So there's a lot of people who are just making money by doing nothing. So if they can do mediocre work and get money, and I'm, really decent or better, I could make money too. So.
Yeah, exactly. And you were saying how you would go knock on doors and things like that, and I'm sure you faced like a decent amount of setbacks or rejection. How have you dealt with that, I guess? How have you learned to kind of deal with that?
At the beginning, jewelry, it was hard. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
cry about it. But now, like for instance, because I didn't explain, I got to a bit of background how people get into your industry. It's either you become, you're like 16 or 17, you become an apprentice. So you can go on like a foundation scheme, or you study, you're 16, 17, you can, study at the master jeweler. You either go to jewelry university or school for 3, 4 years, do that, or you're in the family business, you kind of inherit it, or you work with somebody. So, but I just did random like short course on a Saturday and on a Wednesday, and a short course here, collecting courses, bits and bits, and just hope for the best that I can just break through.
Yeah.
So what happened? I was trying to even get a job before I started the business. No one would hire me. I would send out CVs, or I'll turn up interview, and they look at me like, "Oh, we don't have that space anymore." I'm like, "Why? Why all of a sudden you don't have that space?"
Mm.
So I just started emailing people like, can someone just meet me for coffee? And I sent about 300 emails to different businesses in Hatton Garden, jewelry businesses, but only one person out of 300 emails after 2 months said, yeah, I'll meet you in Costa Coffee, and chatted to me, and he introduced me to a few people. So I'm just like, after 300 emails, there's a guy who, took pity on me and, spent an hour with me, and that changed my life in jewelry and helped me a lot. Just for 1 hour, more than any jewelry school helped me. So I'm so thankful and so passionate about opening doors to other people and sharing
Mm.
knowledge, because it doesn't take that much for someone just to say, hey, this is. And I know some people in the jewelry industry don't want to tell you anything. They're like, oh, I don't know how I got a stockist, or I don't know how I did this, but they don't realize like you give so much more by just sharing your knowledge. Yeah, the
Mhm.
execution is different. You're not going to say step by step, this is how I did, but no one can't steal that idea. You know what I mean? It's the execution what makes it successful
Yeah.
or not. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think from what you've said, it sounds like your business has grown a lot and you've learned a lot. And I guess, where do you see your business going in the next 5 years?
I definitely want to make it $1 million brand, add a
Mm.
£1 million brand. Definitely, I feel like with like Gen Zs, especially, I'm not Gen Z, but or millennials, like they really like businesses which are really value based. They want to see what you're doing. So the person who I am and the business, hopefully the brand values will show and show like, look, I tried to do my best. I tried to do good work. I tried to give very high design value. I try to be informative, try to be educational. I try to do social things I believe in. So I feel like if something in the industry is not right, I'm not going to pretend and turn a blind eye to it. I'm going to say something, whether people like it or not. And I think people see that like consistently, how I've been in the industry, and people respect that, and people just want to work with me. But yeah, I just want to focus on the brand, making it more international, and yeah, just I love to. The mission is to make it the like one number one British storytelling fine jewelry brand. That will be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I mean, your brand is already very successful, and I think it's really unique as well, which I personally love about it. And you can really see your personality shining through your pieces. But I guess, as you were saying about value, do you consider sustainability to be a point of value within your brand, or is that something that you're building up to?
Sustainability means so much different things to different people. So people might think it's just the materials. So in my practice as a jeweler, I always give options. Normally I usually use the recycled silver, or when I do bespoke jewelry, I usually just use recycled gold, or I've signed up to Fair Trade, not Fair Trade, Fair Mind Gold. I give options to the client if they want ethical diamonds or not. So I think it's about the consumer. A lot of people put it on the manufacturer or the person or the business, but it's the consumer. And with jewelry, it's such an emotional item, and it has sometimes some piece of jewelry has social status. So I give you an example. So if someone comes up to me for like an engagement ring, and you're like, well, this is the diamond. You know, you could have an ethical diamond which costs a little bit more to show it's traceable, or you want this diamond. People want, sometimes it's not always the ethical thing that comes in. It's like the bigger the diamond, it seems like I love my partner the best, and social status. Because when that woman, if it's a heterosexual relationship, shows the diamond, people want to see how much the girls will be like, is it 1 carat? How many carats is it? Oh, it's a big diamond. Oh, it's a really good VPS. So, you know, people always think about sustainability, but to a certain point where it affects their lives and their emotions and their social status. So, yeah, I'm up to. I would love to have a B to be B Corp. You know, that would be a B Corp organization that I get accredited. But the thing is, because in a way, it's a bit weird that my fine jewelry design, I bootstrap. I only bootstrap like everything I earn. It goes straight back into the business, and it's do slowly. I don't have no outside investment.
Yeah.
So so it's really hard to be B Corp because I can't always show, due to my supplier base, where I got that stone, because I'm trusting the supplier. They're saying it's from where I think it is. I haven't physically went to the mine in Sri Lanka or physically went there to certify. I'm really building on trust of the people I'm talking to that it is ethical, and it's really sometimes hard to prove because gemstones goes through so many different hands, from where it's picked to where it's cut and who it's delivered to and who it's sold to. So it could change 20 different hands before a gemstone comes to my hand from abroad. So yeah, I would love to. I'm working on it, but
Yeah.
it's a process.
I mean, it's not always easy, and I think sustainability is only something that we can aspire to be, especially when we live in this kind of society that's never prioritized it before. We can only begin as we can. And also, transparency in the industry is just difficult anyway. So I think as long as everyone's doing their best, that's all we can expect. But you sound like you do a great deal on waste management in terms of using your recycled materials. So is there like a way that you manage to reduce your waste with materials? Is there like a system that you have?
Definitely. For my ready to wear bits, when I said the first bit of my own designs, if I sell to stockists and straight direct to consumer, I make 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 to order, meaning like someone puts what do you call it, an order in, like pay for something for like 100 to 200 quid, and then I start making from them. I don't have really stock. Rarely I have stock. Like I probably have one, like two or three pieces, because it's just like having stock all the time. It's just a waste. And it just stays there and it gets oxidized, and it's just not me. So I do definitely, and also people don't really realize with jewelers is, um, you can't really waste materials too much because it's very expensive. So there's a thing called, it's called lemon. So when you work in fine jewelry like silver or gold, all the little filings and all that kind of stuff, you keep it because, and it builds over time, and you collect it, you can melt it, you can use it again, or you take it to a scrap and get some money off it. So we are very efficient, unless you're lazy. Like we're very efficient of using our materials, especially precious bullion, or because it's very expensive. So waste management is number one, because you could be shaving off hundreds of pounds or thousands of pounds if you don't take care and you don't really look at your resources.
So that sounds like a really important thing to do, not only just
Yeah,
for sustainability, but to keep your company going, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
We're running out of time, so I'm gonna wrap it
Mhm.
up. to ask you, if you could give the students one piece of advice, what would that be?
Self-belief. Seriously, self-belief, research and clarity. I know it's three things, but I hope it's the trifecta. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. I think your advice has been so inspirational. I think the students are going to learn so much from your experience. And yeah, I think we're really happy to have you here on the Hult Prize at UCL. So thank you for coming. And
Thank you.
thank you.